Hello, everyone. Today, podcast number 16. So I think 2 months ago, my goal was to record a podcast every week. And I'm on a good way. So this week's, I'm full of Mylucie membership. Maybe you already saw it on Instagram. You can find me at Lucie Beck. I'm now launching Mylucie membership, and I think I decided a few months ago that I want to do Mylucie membership. It's like an online community where you connect with other creative people, not only about food photography, but also about interior photography or portrait photography, different styles of photography. Every month there will be new content. Every month a food styling video. You can have a live Q&A with me from 1 hour, and every month I invite new guests. And so if you're interested, hop over to mylucie.com. The doors will open at 3 November. You can already become a member right now. So very looking forward to it, also because I can put all my creative ideas in this membership. And if you know me a little bit, I have lots of ideas. So, but today we have a lovely guest, Donna Cross. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi, and it's very nice to meet you. So we already jumped in at the chat. We are also having this podcast through Zoom, so we can see each other. So I said to Donna, so we have to record it now because we only want to chat, I think. Because I remember I visited you, is it 2 years or 3 years ago?
I think it was just over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Yes, and it was such a nice weekend because I popped over in your house and we had, you have a group in your village where you make pictures together. So we were at the shop.
That's right. We went to Wattle and Daub, which was a cute little interior shop.
Yeah.
And we had that little workshop where some people joined us from London and all over. They were existing photographers, so it wasn't teaching. And it was just a get together and styling weekend. It was lovely. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great to do. Yeah. Good memories.
I know.
Yeah. But now you are really big news because you are made a book.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah, it's very exciting. First of all, I just want to apologize for the bad lighting. My overhead lights are not great, and then it's overcast today, so I want to apologize for looking like I'm sitting in the dark. But yeah, no, the book is very exciting. It's been a process. It's been in motion for about 3 years. So I had 2 years to write it, and then it's been a year of editing. So it's been a long baby that I've been pregnant with for a long time, but I'm really excited to get it out. And I think initially other books that I've worked on before, when I've worked on books from the US where I photographed the books, the deadline is very tight. So it's normally about 5 to 6 weeks of shooting. And then in that time, the editors and the authors are editing the content of the book. I'm busy shooting. It all gets put together at a similar time, and then it goes off for printing, and it's out within 6 months of shooting.
Yeah.
Whereas my book has just been a totally different process because I'm publishing through London-based publishers, Little Brown, and it's just been a whole different process. It's been really exciting, and I think for me, it's been not having the pressure of having to work back to back on different recipes and having this very, very tight deadline has made it so much more enjoyable. And I think at the end of the day, I'm really, really happy with the book because I feel that I've had a lot of opportunity to fix and to correct any recipes that I was unsure of, or remove or put new ones in. So I've really had a lot of opportunities to tweak it and make it absolutely, in my mind, absolutely perfect. I don't think a book ever goes out perfect. I don't think there's a recipe book ever goes out 100% perfect. But I think I'm very, very happy with the way it's been put together now.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
And can I ask you, and I think a lot of listeners maybe also have the question, where do you start when you have an idea for a book? And then what do you do?
Well, in my case, I mean, I had worked on other books before, so I had an idea of how manuscript looked. I had because when I work with my US publishers, I receive a manuscript. So they email me a manuscript, and I then have to make the recipes and put them out.
Yeah.
So and turn them into pictures. So I had an idea of how manuscripts looked, and I had an idea of how a manuscript was written. So I think from that regard, I was very fortunate. And I just at some point decided that it was time for me to do my own book, because I do my own recipe development as well. So I just felt it was time for me to try and do my own book. It's really difficult because I spoke to somebody else. I spoke to an author who does a lot of cookery books, and she said to me, you need to find yourself an agent, and no publishers will work with you if you don't have an agent. And I contacted a couple of agents, and none of them came back to me. None of them were interested in even speaking to me. But at the same time, I put together a brief of what I thought I wanted to put out there as a book. And I emailed that to a lot of publishers as well. And I was just fortunate that my publishers who I'm working with now, they saw the brief and they got in touch with me and they said, we really like your concept. There's things we want to change. It's not exactly the way we would want the book to be. But we really like your photography. And I think the photography side, the fact that I was also a photographer really helped. And because then it obviously means that there's less budget on the photography side as well. And they just felt that, they loved the concept, they loved the way I wrote, and they liked the photography. So there was a lot of tweaking that went into the concept. It was lots of backwards and forwards, which I think is essential. I don't think, if it's the first time you've written a book, you're not going to know what the market wants. You're not going to know what the market will accept and what's being done in the market if you haven't done your homework. So it's important to listen to your editors, and it's important to listen to the people in the industry to know what they think is going to be well received by the market. And then it was a lot of tweaking and going backwards and forwards. I stuck to my guns a lot. Again, I think you've got to be true to yourself, and you've got to do a book that you believe in and that is similar to your way of life and that sort of thing. So stick to what you want. I mean, I know at one stage they say, can I do light and bright pictures because it's a health book, and health books have bright white and bright colored pictures. And I said, well, no, that's not how I photograph. This is how I photograph. So I think you do have to be true to yourself to a point as well, and really kind of stick to your guns in terms of what you think you want to do as well, but then listen to them in terms of what they think the market will take.
Yeah, good advice. And you also wrote the text by yourself?
I wrote the whole book myself. So all the text, all the recipes, everything has been done entirely by myself.
Wow, great.
Yeah. Well, you see, before I started photography, when I started my blog, I actually qualified as a primal health coach. And the idea at the time when I started my health blog was that I would go on and become a health coach and work with patients and work with clients. And when I qualified, I started to work with clients, and I realized that I actually didn't enjoy it. And I realized that I'd worked with a couple of clients, not many, and I realized that none of them knew how to cook, and that I was trying to teach them to be healthy, but health starts in the kitchen, and none of them knew how to cook. And I was putting together more recipes than I was putting together, workouts and exercise routines. So that was when I decided that's actually the part that I loved. And I focused then on doing recipe development, healthy recipes, recipe development. And then I then started to move into the food photography. And that's kind of where my direction of my career went. So it initially started with me starting the blog. Then I wanted to add credibility to my name, and I qualified as a health coach. And then I started doing the recipe development, and then went on to food photography. So it was a little bit of a bendy path to food photography, But I do think that blogging opens up so much for you, and you can find, if you don't know what to do, start a blog. And from that blog, you will find a path from there that works for you. That's always the advice I give to people when they don't know what to do or how to get started.
Yeah.
Start a blog.
Yeah, totally true. Because I also started a blog when I even wasn't a photographer still at that moment, but I just use it as my creative path and share it with my followers on Instagram and the blog. But now I'm experienced advantage that I already have such a lot of blog posts. So my findability on Google is just great. And I'm still posting blog posts, of course. But yeah, that's such a great advice. And also to choose your own niche and do what your heart will.
Find what you enjoy. What your passion is. I mean, when I started the blog, it was a casual blog. It was really just a place for my friends and family to go and find recipes. I never expected anything to come of it. It was just to keep me busy. We just moved to the UK from South Africa. It was to give me something to do. I enjoyed it because I was learning new skills. And it wasn't intended to be any end game. There was no end game intended with it. It was just a great way for me to put down my thoughts, friends and family to see what our family were doing in the UK, and to share my recipes. So there was a central place where people could go and find my recipes. But I do think that, as you say, once you start writing and once you start doing the blogs, you realize, I've seen so many bloggers grow into different aspects. So I've seen so many bloggers become nutritionists and become photographers and become public speakers just from starting with a blog and building from there. It's good. It's a really good conduit into something else. And I think and as you say, it gets you out there onto Instagram, onto social media. And I think if you take it slowly, it must be organic. It should be taken slowly and at a steady pace, not with a massive result at the end of the day in mind. You can definitely grow into an area that you love and enjoy, that you might never have thought you would end up doing.
It's totally true. And also maybe it's good to say to the listeners, if you still don't have a blog, just start and just doing it. Because it's also great for your to show to the clients what you can do and what your possibilities are, I think.
And it's like anything, when you start it, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be what you see out there as massively famous blogs. It's got to start somewhere, and you've got to start and build up and just layer it. And I mean, I look at my original blog posts and I would cringe at some of the pictures and the wording and the recipes. It's a foundation. It's a way to learn. And if you can go in without putting too much pressure on yourself, and not feel as if you're being judged, but you're just putting it out there, just having fun, it can be a great learning curve.
Yes, because I also heard a lot from people, well, I can't write, and I'm saying I'm not a journalist or stuff like that, but it's my own blog and it's my environment, and I can do what I want. I can share what I want. So I write how I write, and that's it. So,
well, I mean, that's how I ended up getting into the photography, is because I realized I didn't enjoy the writing. So I would sit down and I would start with my first line, and I think, now what am I going to say? And I particularly don't like blogs that talk about walking the dog and going and doing this and like a whole story that, when I don't know the person on the other end, I'm not really interested in what's happening in their life. I'm more interested in the recipe and give me details of the recipe. And that's why, particularly on the recipe side, and that's why I realized very quickly that I didn't enjoy sitting down and starting to write. But you have to put content on the blog to keep people, for SEO, for search engine optimization. You need to have people staying. When they hit your blog, they need to stay on your blog. So you've got to have something on there that's going to appeal to them and going to keep them looking at that page. So that's where I decided I would up my photography, because I realized that was the part of blogging. It was a friend of mine's husband who's a psychologist, and the one question he said to me, what do you love most about blogging? And I said, the photography. So he said, well, then that's what you must focus on. And that was a turning point for me. And that's when I realized that I didn't want to put a whole story of what my family had done over the weekend or put it out there to a whole bunch of strangers. I figured I would then invest more time in upping my photography skills and putting out images that were just exactly what I wanted and just my style images, and that people would sit and look at and want to look at more pictures on my website. So that was the route that I ended up taking. And yeah, I'm very happy with it. I'm very glad with the route it went.
Yes, because otherwise you didn't had this whole journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And maybe you don't know exactly yet what your niche is, but you just have to start. So I also started with pictures with flat lace and cupcakes. Also, I did a series about family pictures. But at the moment, I thought, no, okay, I have to stop this right now. But that's okay if you made the decision, okay, that's nothing for me, and then go further. And then I discovered the food photography, and I just wanted to share my knowledge. So that's also why I started like the blog post behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think now every 2 weeks there's a new blog post, and I think, yeah, it's great. I also read every article because there's so much knowledge in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, I don't do any more blogging because I ran my blog for 3 or 4, maybe longer, a good couple of years, and then my photography took over. And then I just never got back into the blogging. And then I started writing my book, and everything all the recipes that I was developing went straight to my book. So I wanted new content in the book and not on my website.
Yeah.
So my blog has become a little bit of a white elephant. It's still up, it's still out there, and I still do get hits on it, but I haven't been onto it for about a year. I've been really bad. So yeah, it is definitely, it's in my past. It's not something I would go back to now, because I would probably, if I started again, I would start a whole new blog on photography rather than recipes. I don't know. I'll see. I'll decide. But yeah, it was a good period for me. It was a good learning curve, a good finding myself period.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also fine that you're letting certain things go, or maybe you're starting a new blog or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was curious, you were saying I'm now unpacking from my stuff because I all see props behind you.
Chaos behind me.
So you gave a workshop?
Yeah, I ran a workshop in town because I've now moved to Jersey. It's a little island off. Just actually, we can see France, so we're closer to France than we are to the UK. And it's a great little island. I love it. It's got beautiful produce, loads of farming happening here, and lots of foodies, loads of restaurants and all sorts.
Yeah.
And so one of my reasons for moving here was just to bring food photography to the island, and it's been really, really well received. And I ran my first workshop in town, and very similar to the one that we did together when we were in the interior shop. So again, it was a beautiful interior shop, actually very similar aesthetics as well. And she's got a creative studio upstairs with the most beautiful lighting. And so she's just opened. It's called Harriet and Rose. And Harriet's just opened the shop, and I was the first workshop. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I ended up with more photographers than I thought foodies.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of professional photographers obviously wanting to extend their knowledge into food, which was exciting as well. So yeah, it was a good balance. There were 10 people, and yeah, some people who make their own food at home and sell it. One lady makes the most incredible cakes I've ever seen. There was another lady who makes chocolate sculptures, just all sorts of things that they really want to build a brand for themselves and put out their products on Instagram and around town.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you moved? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a big thing. It was difficult for me to leave because I was really settled in the UK. I was close to London, and I was concerned about what was going to happen with work for me.
Mhm.
But I have to say, you know, it's still a close enough flight back to London if I need it. And I've actually really just enjoyed being on the island. And, you know, a lot of my work has been remote anyway. So, I mean, my American publishers, I've done that. I've never met the American publishers. I've never met the authors before, but
Yeah,
I've managed to do that work remotely. So I kind of figured, well, if I can do books from another continent, then I can easily do work from Jersey. And yeah, I mean, it hasn't proven to be difficult at all. Maybe ingredients are a little bit harder to get. I've got to be quite selective with ingredients, but otherwise, yeah, it's been a great move. I'm very happy with it. Nice and healthy, and get to go down to the beach and do fun things, which has been really good.
It sounds horrible.
I know, it's terrible. It's terrible. And it's a nice community because it's a small community. Everybody networks. So everybody wants to introduce you to somebody who produces food or someone who's got a restaurant. And so I think because it's a nice small community, everybody kind of backs each other up, which has been good. So word spreads very quickly when there's a new person in town and what they're able to do.
Yeah, and I can imagine it's like a new discovery, getting to know all the new people, but also where are your clients now, and do you have like for the upcoming 2 years, do you already have new plans, or just on 16 December your book is coming out, or do you have?
I mean, at this stage, it's just been booked because pretty much from the start of my move, we ended up, because the book goes through a number of editing processes as well, with different editors, with different copywriters. So, so that's been pretty hectic. There's been a lot of work going into that. In fact, I think there's been more work that went into that when it went into the writing, because it's obviously in a lot more condensed period. So I haven't really been taking on new work because of the fact that I've been doing this editing, and it would be a week out sitting going through every single word in the book. Copywriters will say, what about this? What about that? Question this, question. So it's been a lot of work on the editing side of the book, a lot more so than I anticipated. But it's been great. That has been such a big learning curve for me. And I think I initially, when I started putting together the concept, I was debating whether to publish my own book or whether to try and find publishers, and 100% try and find publishers, because I don't consider myself a great writer. I don't consider my grammar is very good. I'm not a natural writer. So my grammar's bad, my spelling's bad, all of that's terrible. And that's where having publishers, having amazing copywriters, having proofreaders, they pick up all of that stuff and they correct it. But they've been fantastic in the way they've done it, in that they've still kept it as me. So it's still the way I write, but just with the correct commas and the correct punctuation, and and the correct word arrangement, because I'm actually dyslexic, so my words get a little bit mixed up. So having them help me with that has been really good. Yeah,
it's so interesting to hear, because you hear a lot, I published a book, and so it's very nice to hear your experience and the whole process. So dear listeners, I hope you find this podcast very interesting. And if people search for you on Instagram, where can they find you?
It's just easy. Donna Cross, DonnaCrous, and that's it. At Donna Cross on Instagram. I find it easier. I don't know about you, but I originally felt that I had to hide my name behind my blog name. So I originally had it as, my blog was 80/20 Nutrition, and I originally named my Instagram account 80/20 Nutrition. But I think if you want to develop a name, if you want to become a recognized person in the industry, you've got to put your name out there. You can't hide behind another name. You've just got to. So I eventually changed it a couple of years ago to Donna Cross.
Yeah, great one. I agree with you.
You probably did the same. I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people initially start off behind their blog name and then come out from behind the curtains. Yeah,
of course. I have at Instagram just Lucie Beck, but my blog name is mylucie.com. Well, there's Lucie in it, so for me it's just fine. And I also I'm developing like a brand, like a company. Of course, I have also now Mylucie Membership, so it sounds great, I think.
It definitely, you must make it a personalized brand. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Great. It was very nice talking to you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes.
I hope that I just want to say that I hope that if anybody has aspirations to write a book or a dream to write a book, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And you've just got to learn as much as you possibly can about the publishing industry. Welcome to DM me if you want any more advice. But I think it's about, I think publishers are interested in books that have an interesting concept, nothing that's been done before. So if you can come up with something that has an interesting concept, and it may seem a bit wacky in the beginning, but maybe that's what they want. That's I mean, look at Harry Potter. Nobody wanted to publish Harry Potter because it was a little bit different. But you've just got to keep trying all the different publishers, and you don't even get a reply back from most. You never hear a word from them. It's like you put this proposal out into the void and never hear anything back. But just keep doing it, because somewhere along the line someone will come back. If they like the concept, they will come back. And if nobody comes back, then change the concept. Then find another way, find something else that will be different and they'll be interested in.
Thank you for this courage and those wise words.
Good. I hope it helps.
Yes. So sweet people, if you want to follow Donna, hop over to Donna Cross at Instagram. And thank you for listening. If you're listening to this podcast, of course, you can make a screenshot and share it on Instagram, so I can share it in my stories. So
and mine.
Yes, exactly. So other people will get familiar with my podcast. Thank you for listening, and speak to you the next time. Bye, Donna.
Bye, Lucy. Thank you.